Hello, so I'm already back. It's been a month. I was really busy. So far, so good. So you're getting this now. Again, you know the drill. I'm wearing glasses. I don't want to do full makeup right now, but I'm fine. So this is what you're gonna get. First of all, I actually want to start this video by saying how lucky are you to be able to struggling and working hard for something that you want. Like even having the opportunity to go for what you want is such a gift. It's such a privilege. Yes, it's hard. It's gonna be hard, but at least you even have the opportunity to try, you know? So maybe studying is hard, preparing something is hard. Yeah, but this is the kind of hard you wanted. This is the kind of hard you chose. And I also always try to remember that despite along the video, I'm probably gonna rant a little bit, but I just want to remind that I'm tired, but I'm happy, you know, still. Again, I just want to remind everyone that what a privilege it is to be struggling for something that you want. Even getting the opportunity to do so is hard. So go study, go read what you need to prepare, go apply, go cold pitch. Just keep going, okay? So many people don't even have the opportunity to try hard, and you do. I don't know, but like at least in some aspect, in some context or sphere in your life, I'm sure you have something you need to be working on right now, so go do it. Yeah, not to be mean, but like that's just what I wanted to say before I start the video, because it might end up sounding pretty complainy. So this is a topic I already kind of addressed on my TikTok, on my Tim Tams. You can check that out if you want. Well, I'm here to talk about the illusion of the illusion of globalization in friendships, the illusion of globalization in social groups, or the international bubble, or existing in an international bubble. Well, I've been noticing this phenomena for a while now, and I just thought it would be interesting, and I'm just treating this channel as a public diary, so this is just my thoughts, something I observed, and I just want to find people who relate to me or like have a discussion on this, okay? You know, you meet those kids who like lived abroad or like lived in multiple different places growing up, or it doesn't necessarily have to be abroad, but can be like in different cities or states within the country, right? Or, you know, growing up, a lot of us, I feel like, especially coming from the global south, or like if you're not from like a Western country, we were like really pushed to be like a global citizen. Like every essay, every like encouragement, academic thing is like become a global citizen, be global, be multicultural. But then I feel like there's a certain group of people, or certain people like grow up in a way that it seems international, but actually it's not. It's just the same social group, the same definitely socioeconomic group, just hang out with each other in different spots. Like this, I feel like the social dynamic doesn't really change, and they don't really interact with the locality so much. It's just the setting changes, but then of course the context changes as well, but they're not really interacting with the context. And I can't say, you know, 100% I also can't claim that I've never not been guilty of this as well. Let me start with an example. Let's say you're a kid, your parents had an international job, you lived in a random combination of countries, like in Argentina, and then you ended up going to South Korea, and then now you're studying in Switzerland. I don't know. Let's say like that. And I feel like growing up, like I always wanted to be like these people, or like have like similar experiences to these people. Hence I always wanted to like study abroad, and I, you know, tried really academically hard to find the right resources and funding to be able to do this. The thing is, I'll also take an example of myself. Like me personally, I feel like the more I move, the more experiences I get, the harder it is to get friendships. I think that's one of like the big reasons I'm starting this YouTube channel again, I think. Well, making service level friends is like no issue. At least I've always been an extrovert, and then the more I travel and like do stuff in different places and contexts, the more confidence I get in interacting with people. Like that's not the issue, but actually finding long-term friends, long-term people just gets hard. Oh my god, I feel like I don't know if I can even swear. I feel like I'm complaining about something really like first world problem, but trust me, okay, I'm trying to explain this as much as I can, as best as I can. So let's say that kid grows up in this context, and then the more countries or cities he is adding to his experience, the rarer the combos get, and then in a way it also gets harder to make other friends who have that same exact experience or like same exact lived combination of different countries or places or cities or regions. And as I said, it can be just within the same country as well, just different regions or towns, right? The thing is, these people, or some of these people, really claim to be international, have like a very contextual knowledge of everything, yada yada. But then I think at a certain point, there's a plateau of like, you know, a max a human can handle with these experiences. And at some point, I noticed these people just end up being friends with other international people. Fair, I get it. So this also kind of can be a conversation into, you know, expat life in a country, but that's a whole different conversation in itself, I would say. I don't know, it's almost paradoxical because like these people on paper have such an international experience, but then when they actually go in the social circle or like go into the job market, maybe they just hang out with the same people. You know what I mean? Like same people as in people who have already had like different experiences abroad, maybe not necessarily the same combo of countries they lived with, but it's just other diplomats' kids. Or oh my god, I feel like this is like, I don't want to like criticize my friends or something because you're born into it, you know, they didn't really have a choice. But anyway, I'm just taking it as an example of especially kids, or maybe you also had like immigrant parents as well, and then you existed between like two cultural contexts, or even three, four, you know. Now like the mixes are getting even more broad and more complex, I would say. But then I think at a certain point you get really tired and you get a sense of this like cultural homelessness. You know, the phrase is like third culture kids doesn't even begin to cover it anymore. Like especially people working or independent or have the tenacity to just go through different countries and different jobs. Okay, so again, let me try to say it in an example. So you're a kid who grew up in different cultural contexts. You meet another kid who grew up in different cultural contexts. But then you guys stick together, and most likely you probably belong to the same socioeconomic group, meaning that you just met in Prague or something, and then 2-3 years later, your parents or you will get stationed in another city or a town. And when you move to that town, you probably try to just reach out to the same people, you know? And I've started to notice this trend or a pattern of these kids who claim to be so international, who claim to speak so many languages and interact with so many cultures, but you're actually not living in the locality. I'm sorry, but you most likely you're living in a higher economic standard than the actual like average local earner in that certain country. And when you exist in that bubble, you're most likely friends with other people who have that privilege same as you. Oh my god, this is like really basic social theory, but sometimes it just gets to me that some people really act like they get to be on a pedestal and critique people who don't have the same opportunities as them, and at the same time claim to be so like culturally aware, globally aware, like so open-minded. But then when you actually try to befriend them for a long term, of course I have many good nice friends who grew up in this way, in a certain way, but in other contexts, even like older people, expats, or like online like moneymakers, right? I don't know, they make all these like crazy blogs of like glorifying this life, but then when you actually like try to go to like a local bar or like a local restaurant or something, they're just kind of like, no, let's just go to the like restaurant of the hotel complex or the apartment complex, you know what I mean? And then it feels like they're living in this illusion of this high cultural interactiveness and awareness, but I don't know, when they're living in Philippines or something, they're not actually so much in contact with the locals. And of course, okay, you can pick up a few phrases or so and you get like A2 Tagalog or something, but you see them not actually being friends, or like, I mean, it's also hard, but like not really making the effort to make friends with the with locals, or like people who actually like grew up and lived in that country, which is also fine. Like, you don't have to, I'm not forcing anyone to, but it's just the one thing that irks me a little bit is like when they're, for example, go to the next country they're living in, they really like boast about like, hey, I lived in the Philippines for da da da, and like act like they're this like almost big cultural ambassador for that country. But when they were actually like existing in that country, they were not really interacting with them, you know? Okay, I don't know. I think I need to like explain this over a beer with a friend in a bar, you know? Like in video context, I feel like my thoughts are not flowing as smoothly. But yeah, transitioning to another issue with this, I'll just talk about, instead of just complaining about others. I'm not really complaining, it's just, I was just saying that this is an interesting pattern that I'm noticing, because it's like, you know, it's just the same people, friends with the same people with the same socioeconomic group, but just one moment they're in, I don't know, Portugal, next thing they're in Kenya, next Ghana, then in Brazil and Colombia. But it seems like they're like jumping around many places, but there's just still friends with the same kind of people, you know? That's also fine. Of course, anyone can exist in that way, but just don't claim like you put way more effort into actually taking the time to integrate yourself into the culture, you know? But then again, also with these, especially with the nature of these jobs, it's also hard because it's like you have to move every 2-3 years, and of course that's not enough time. And speaking of that, that's happening to me as well, and I guess this video is also a bit of a self-critique as well, because I mean, I try to learn the languages as much as I can where I exist, and I try to like be brave about it. I mean, at least one thing I can always be proud of is like I always go out, so that always makes me open to conversation, I feel like, or it makes it easier to talk to just people on the street, and that's my favorite way of going out. I try to be smart about it, okay? Just, yeah, that's why I also don't really want to tell on the internet where I'm living, but at this point people probably know, but whatever. So another point I wanted to kind of rant about is it's so hard to relate to people. Like, at a certain point it just gets hard. Like, I just lived in a town where, again, very nice people, very nice environment, great nature, like fresh air, coming from Ulaanbaatar, like one of the most air polluted cities in the world. That town, like, I think did good for my lungs, and I think it healed me, I hope. But I think especially in your early 20s, I mean, I think in overall, like, age doesn't matter. There's like hella immature people in their 40s, and there's also people who are capable of carrying a family at 19 because of their life circumstances. I think growing up in Asia or like in high school, it's so strict, right? Like, you're a class of this, you're a year of this, and like you don't really make friends like grades above and down. Well, I would say I always try to make friends above and down grades. I didn't like, if I respect the person, if they respect me, like I always feel like we could be friends. I didn't try to exist in this strict line of like, I'm in 9th grade, so oh my god, I can't befriend an 8th grader. That's so embarrassing. Like, I always, no, like, okay, dating is problematic, but like if I just have a friend, if I'm talking at cafeteria, it's fine. But a lot of us grow up with this weird social construct, but then in college everything kind of breaks down, right? And I feel like especially in the West, like at least in Europe, it does as well. When I was restarting a program here again, I felt like, not to like boast my own horn or something, but I'm already existing in a country or a context like 2-3 times removed from myself, you know? And this is not my first time studying abroad or living abroad. And when I try to like befriend kids who are just starting college and they haven't like moved out of their parents' place, like there's just so many topics you can't, there's only so much to cover together, you know? But then at the same time, it's not anyone's fault. Like, I'm not criticizing that they're just starting college. It's just different trajectories, and then it just gets harder to find mutual points to make friends I feel like, or I just know, I don't know, I feel like every time I move, in theory, it seems like emotionally it should be easier to do this and make friends and make long-term connections, because I should be like getting the hang of it, right? Like I do, but then it just gets exhausting at some point. I don't know, or maybe I didn't exist in the right city. Maybe you have to put yourself in a more like multicultural city if you can. But then of course not everyone can easily do that, and then not everyone has the resources to. Oh my god, does anyone understand what I'm saying? I feel like the person talking about this, but screw it, I'm just gonna edit this and post it and see who resonates with this. But now that I like look back on it, you know, I just noticed myself kind of thinking in these stupid constructs or like limitations to myself. But then again, there are also people same age as me who have never had to be responsible for themselves, so it's really hard to, or I don't know, who never even had to like apply for a visa for themselves or something, like, or like get their own documents in order. And then when you try to talk about experiences or just like have a open conversation with people like that, first of all, they don't relate. Second of all, they might be offended. There were also many times where people got offended just because I was just sharing my experiences from abroad. And I'm like, I'm not trying to flex that I lived that. I'm just trying to connect with you and tell a story I lived. And okay, now that I told you, I understand that you don't relate, but unless I tell you, how would I know we're gonna relate or not, you know? And the thing is, there's no like right or wrong path in this. There's no better or worse path in this. It's just people have, okay please, it's just people have different experiences, and you just gotta tell your story to find like relatable points. Especially like in Asia, like especially growing up with Asian parents in the Asian context. I'm from Mongolia, you know, I think we're really used to getting like compared and like kind of put into competition with our peers when it's not necessary. And then I feel like that also creates insecurities and complexities within people, and it just complicates relationships later in adulthood, because we're all just trying to tell our stories and we're not trying to compete or flex, bro. Like and these are things like I try to unlearn in the years abroad. It's still a process, you know, and that's why sometimes when I also go back home, it's reverse culture shock, because it's not, some topics or like some ways to present yourself is not normal. But yeah, in the end, I also just wanted to say that I'm just trying to connect with people. I don't, at this point, I don't have any gain of trying to compete with anyone. But at the same time, again, I'm saying like everyone's life is different. It's so different. There's no like a comparison point. I don't know. Yeah, this is just something I wanted to say for a while now. But lastly, I don't want to like scare anyone who wants to study abroad or do something out of their comfort zone. I'm telling you, like 100% go for it, but just always try to have a little bit of self-awareness if you can. I know it's easier said than done, but I hope this video is a little bit of a reminder of that as well. And I try to work on this as well. And I will always encourage people to gain new experiences. And even if it's bad, if the goal is to experience, even if it's bad, you get the experience. So, you know, I mean, don't hurt yourself like that badly, but I would always say go for it. If anyone understands what I'm talking about, or if anyone wants to like pick up a point I said in this video, feel free to start something in the comments or like write something on my TikTok, as I also kind of wrote a disclaimer to this on my TikTok a little bit. So just feel free to discuss, and I'm interested about your opinions and your experiences as well. Thanks for listening. Have a good one.